Welcome to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Burkeen.
Hey everyone, you listen to the Sports Scouting Report. I'm your host, Lee Burkeen, out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I really like these radio versions. You know, we've been doing a lot of video shows, which, you know, the older crowd loves the video, and I like doing radio too. You know, I don't need my face shown on TV all the time. You know, I mean, I love that. But we've got a great guest today, all the way from Crowley, Louisiana, one of the greatest coaches to ever go on the sidelines of any team in the state of Louisiana, and a Hall of Fame coach, still coaching, Louis Cook. Louis, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks, Lee. I appreciate the opportunity to spend time with you.
Coach, there's a lot to talk about. I want to let the listeners know we're going to talk about, obviously, your team. We'll get to your team later in the show. We're going to talk about some of your former players, how they're doing at colleges, some of your former players that did play back in the day, including your son, Jeff.
Sure.
And there's a book that's almost finished, not quite finished. We're going to talk about a book and how that came about. I'm going to throw out some famous names. I always use Wikipedia, and sometimes I use just my knowledge over the years, but of some people that have come out of Notre Dame High School. Not so much Crowley, but Notre Dame High School, some famous people that have come out. And we know the most famous one. We'll throw that out right now, Tommy Casanova.
Yeah, you know, Tommy was actually only went to Notre Dame 1 year because St. Michael's, St. Joe of Rain, and St. Francis of Iota consolidated in 1967, which was Tommy's senior year. So he was a St. Michael's Crusader for 3 years, and then the first year of Notre Dame. And you know, Lee, they didn't lose a game and only went through one round of the playoffs.
Wow.
But went undefeated the first year. They lost on first downs to Vanderbilt Catholic at Vanderbilt, yeah, and finished like 9-0 and 1 or so. I think they might have had the tie because it was 13-13. They lost on first down, but yeah, Tommy's still practicing. He's an optometrist in Crowley, and he's on the sideline quite a bit with us, with the whole Casanova family, because Jackie's brother Jackie played at LSU also.
Right.
Shortly after Tommy, and I got to coach Johnny Casanova at UL. Johnny was a tight end when I got hired in '81 at USL.
Hey.
Coach Johnny. So, and then I've coached all the boys. Tommy, didn't have a son that played. He had a daughter that was a really good athlete. But Jackie had 5 boys, and I've been through 3 of Johnny's sons. So it's been fun being there with those guys for sure.
And Coach Cook, I know you got another Casanova coming up on the roster. You told me about the other day.
Yeah,
we'll get to that later on.
Yeah, okay.
In the show, but I mean, it doesn't hurt to have Casanova players on the team. Never hurts.
Oh no, it never does.
Coach, I want to talk about your time at. I mean, you spent a lot of time at Crowley High. Went to the state championship game, won championships there, won them at Notre Dame. You spent a little time at USL, but you've been very fortunate. You've always had to not really go far, in your coaching career. When you left USL, you were able to go back to high school coaching, and you stayed ever since. And
the coaches pick at me an awful lot. They said, Cook, you're the only guy we know you've coached, been a head coach in 3 high schools, 2 stints in Lafayette at USL, and never moved out your house in rain. I built it. We built the home here in '79 when I was head coach in Rain. We stood in the same house.
That's a good thing, Coach.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I could get my wife to move across the street, much less out of rain. But no, it's been good. Yeah, I've been blessed. My kids. I was proud of the fact that when they say home, they know exactly where we're talking about.
Right,
right. And because we had a few opportunities to make a move. I was offered the offensive coordinator's job by Bobby Kiesler in '90 when he took over at McNeese, and Greg Davis had wanted to talk me into going to Tulane with him when he took over there. And ironically, Steve Ensminger, when he became the offensive coordinator at A&M, R.C. Slocum asked him, need a receiver coach, and Steve threw my name out there, but I was happy with what I was doing. I was at USL at that time. I had Jake and those guys, and Brandon and those guys. So, I was pretty happy coaching there. But anyhow, it's winding a career down and still in the same house.
I want to throw this out for the youngsters, Coach, and I'm in my 50s now. When I'm talking about youngsters, I'm talking about under 40. When Coach mentioned Stokely, he meant Brandon Stokely, who had a 16-year NFL career, and Jake Delhomme from the Carolina Panthers. For those youngsters out there, I know the older guys get it, but we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have more Coach Louis Cook from Notre Dame or Crowley. We're going to talk to Coach Cook about a book that's not finished yet, but it's an interesting story. I want Coach Cook to share it. He shared it with me a few months ago, how he met a gentleman that's not even from Louisiana that decided to do a book on Coach Cook. I think that's a great thing. We're going to talk about that when we come back. Be sure to take your car and truck for all your tire needs to Treads & Care Tire Company, located in Central. Call 331-8144. Family owned and operated. It's 1971. That's 331-8144. Welcome back. You listen to the Sports Scouting Report. I'm Lee Burkeen. Our guest today is Hall of Famer Louis Cook, head coach currently of the Notre Dame Crowley High School. And I want to mention a sponsor of ours. It was our first sponsor, Coach, and if we didn't have this sponsor, we wouldn't have a show right now. But John Harvey Toyota, and they're out of Bossier City and Shreveport. They've been with us from the beginning before we had even 2 listeners.
Wow.
And they have a Subaru dealer, a Lexus of Shreveport. Honest people, low prices. Tell them Lee sent you, and make sure you go buy a vehicle from them, because we got a lot of North Louisiana listeners, Coach, from Shreveport and Bossier City, Natchitoches. A lot of people from Monroe, West Monroe, Ruston, and
that's great football up there. And,
yeah,
they don't get any better than high school football. And with the way college ball is going now, it's high school gonna be the only honest game. Pure still around,
Yeah. Coach, remember when me and you talked about, I don't know, it might have been 12, 13 years ago, and I said, Coach Cook, I said, what do you think of all the 7-on-7? Do you think it'll go national, and then you think kids will start leaving? And I said, man, this is not the way it was set up in the 70s and 80s and 90s and early 2000s.
No.
And look where it's at now.
Yeah. Is that crazy? Yeah.
I think, again, if anybody's listening, I'm not against 7-on-7. I just don't think teams should travel and play for championships out of state locally, for football.
No, I'm the same way. I feel, just you take your team, and when you start gathering all-star guys, the best around, putting all-star teams together, and it I don't know, it just – never thought it was meant to be like that, but anyhow, at least the high school game is still, still a good game, and you don't have to be a freak of nature to play on some high school teams. You can still have the opportunity to play high school football, and it may not ever go any further, but it's a great thing that you learn so many things about the game of football, but about life as well. So. Hopefully we can keep it going the way it is.
Coach, I want to talk about the book and you shared the story with me about 4 months ago about how you met a gentleman who's not even from Louisiana, but tell everybody the story about the gentleman that came down to talk to you about writing a book, and now you almost have a book finished.
Yeah, well, Galen White is the gentleman. He's 76 years old. Now, I grew up in Los Angeles, California, actually, and went to Oklahoma, wrote sports for the Arizona Republic and Denver Post, and then got into speech writing for CEOs of a couple of major companies, Eastman Chemical and Goodyear Tire and Rubber. And anyhow, once that was done, he began to write. He's written 5 books, and they all dealt with baseball. And the 5th one of the 5 dealt with the Evangeline League, which was a Class C professional minor league club or league. And Crowley and New Iberia, Lafayette had teams, for some reason, he featured the Crawley Millers. There's a Miller Stadium there that was restored by Coach Pizzolato, who was at Crawley High when I was there. And anyhow, while he was doing the book, once he got close to publication, he wanted some endorsements, and obviously Ron Guidry, the best major leaguer come out from around here, and Ron and I are friends, and so that's how I got involved with that, and asking when we first spoke, I told him I'd help any way I could help, whatever. So about 30 minutes later, he called me back. He says, Coach, he said, I did a little research on you when we hung up, and he said, would you endorse the book as well? Just put blurbs. You had Allison Habits, who's a Notre Dame grad, coaching softball at Alabama for the last 25 years, and Allison's a Crawley girl and area, a name that they would recognize. John Brady did a blurb for his book because John coached at Crawley High years back before he got into college coach basketball. And so anyhow, so that's how we got. And then once the book was published and he came down to do some promotions, and I helped him a little bit with that. And at the end of his time, when he was about to hit, he now lives in Tennessee. He lives in Kingsport, Tennessee. And so he said, Coach, he said, I'm something's compelling me to has anyone done a book on you? I said, well, not anybody in their right mind, but anyhow, he said, Coach, you can find book on pro coaches and you can find books on college coaches. He said, but the high school guys, y'all the ones get these kids started. Y'all their first line of learning the game. And he said, I just think, I think I'd like to see younger guys get inspired and motivated to do what you guys do. And I think, just knowing a little bit about you, what I've heard from other people since I've been down here. So he wasn't sure he could do it. He said, I'm 70, at the time he was 75 years old, living in Tennessee, logistics and everything else was, had to be considered, but he decided he'd go ahead and do it. And, there's been several things, Lee, that just happened once he decided that have aided him in being able to do it between transportation, cars, when he gets down here, place to stay, several people wanting to help him finance the book. And so he's interviewed well over 100 people. It's 18 chapters planned. He's got 12 chapters written already, and so it is pretty. He'll send it to me, and then several other people have seen it, read some of it. It's just by my stops at Crawley, UL. One of the chapters is the red shirt that wasn't, and that's about when we ran Jake Delhomme out on the first game of his college career as coming out of Turlings High School when they were Class A. And Jake's a freshman, about 170 pounds, and we ran him out to start the second half of the Utah State game, which was our first game in the Big West, first game of the '93 season, and we'd gone 2-8. Yeah, we'd gone 2-8 2-9 the year before, which was my first year back with Coach Stokely in '92. And make a long story short, we ended up with a true freshman. Now, we were good on defense. Old Vic Humont was our defensive coordinator, and Orlando Thomas led the nation in interceptions that year. And we ended up 8-3. So we turned it around from 2-9 to 8-3 with a true freshman quarterback. Wow. And so, yeah, it was a pretty neat deal. And, of course, Jake, went on to – we realized, how good he was when it was all said and done, and just had a great career. And it went on to almost pulled off a Super Bowl win with the Panthers over I think New England. But anyhow, so that he's got the title of the book's going to be Coach of a Lifetime, and that came about because Orlando had played for me at Crawley High before he went to USL, and then when I went back with Nelson Stokely, Orlando still had 3 years remaining, so we spent 7 years together, 4 of high school and 3 of his college years. And, he became a pro made All Pro with the Vikings or what have you. And it was always I actually went with him when he signed with his agent, who was Mark Bartelstein out of Chicago, and took good care of Orlando. And he always said, "Coach, I want to get you some. I want to give you some." And I said, "Orlando, all I want from you is that when you finish playing, anything you do for the rest of your life's a hobby, because you've taken care of the money that you earned, as a outstanding pro football player." Well, he brought a statuette one day. He walks in with this statuette, which is a kind of Heisman-like look. It's a guy, a figurine catching a ball, and the inscription on it says "Coach of a Lifetime, Lewis Cook." And thank you for your friendship and honesty, and and so Galen saw that, and so actually, in the first part, it says tucked away in the corner of a cluttered office is a 17-inch statuette of a covered with a Minnesota Viking cap signed by Orlando. Actually hung Orlando's cap he signed over the thing. So, but when Galen saw that, he goes, "Coach, that probably is a fitting title for the book." So, anyhow, he's off and running with that, and he talks about my days, of course, growing up in Rain, coaching in Rain, coaching at Crowley High, coaching at Notre Dame, coaching at USL, and it's like one chapter is going to be titled 42.
Yeah.
It's about Orlando. Orlando was drafted 42nd. He wore number 42 for the Vikings. He died of Lou Gehrig's at age 42, and his dad had passed. His dad had passed away at 42. So so he's got, which is going to be, I'm sure a very interesting chapter, because Orlando was such a great kid that he willed that Crowley Gent football team to the state championship in '89, because I was trying to figure out what 5 games we could win all summer long, to break even, and we end up winning the championship. So so it'll be interesting, and he didn't want it to be a how-to, but he wanted it to be something that a coach could pick up and read and see how things were structured in a program that has had some success.
Yeah, we got to Coach. We got to take a break. Speaking of Ryan Guidry, that's the reason to this day I'm a New York Yankees fan, because of Ryan Guidry. That's who I watched first. And 2, Orlando Thomas. We lost him way too young. What a great guy. What a great talent that you coached.
Sure. Yeah.
But we're going to come back and we have more. Trust me, I won't coach on for 2 hours, but we got to take a break real quick. We'll be right back. Right. That's good stuff, Coach. We'll be right back. Gros Savon Lodge, the true sportsman's paradise. Gros Savon Lodge has fresh and saltwater fishing, alligator hunting, waterfowl hunting, and eco tours. Located south of Lake Charles, Louisiana. Give them a call at 337-598-2357. That number to call again is 337-598-2357, and have the time of your life. Welcome back. I want to thank another sponsor of ours, Medine's Collision Center. Before we get back to Coach Cook of Notre Dame of Crowley, give them a call at 357-7983 if you need body work. I'm going to go to them when I need it, because they're family-owned. They've been family-owned since the 1960s. Chris and Dominica Medine and Jesse Medine, their son. Give them a call, 357-7983. Coach, we need to get the author of the book from Tennessee to come on our show when we do the TV version. We'll get him down and get him on, and we'll promote it. Maybe we can get you to come down when the season's over, maybe.
Sure, Yeah, he's hoping to have, by it won't be finished before the season starts, but he's hoping that by the time the season ends, that it'll be finished. And we'll be glad. I know he'd love to do that. He's really he's an interesting guy. I mean, he's got to take a break in October from the book, because he's going fishing in the Amazon, and but he's lived all over there. I mean, he's lived in Singapore and Malaysia, he's a really interesting guy. I think everybody love seeing and listening to him.
Coach, I want to ask you, changing the topic, I want to talk about former players of yours that are still playing college ball. The 2 that I think of that I watched play for you that have really looked like this is a breakout year for both kids. One Gabe Leonard's walked on LSU, tight end that played for you. You've had a lot of good Leonards in your program.
Yep.
I watched Gabe. It looks like he's put on a lot of muscle. He left you at 210. He's now 225. I saw the other day on the LSU roster.
Yeah.
And they need tight ends. He might get some reps this year, Coach. What do you think?
Well,
LSU.
He earned his way on there now. He went last year. He just trying to decide where. He said, I think I'm just going to take my shot, Coach. And they loved him. I mean, he's a hard worker, strong, tough as a son of a gun. And, he'll help on all special teams. And he's got some skill, and he's a tough blocker, which you wanted that spot. And he's got speed. He ran on our relay teams and ran good hurdler. So Gabe's just a good all-around athlete that's big, and he's gotten bigger, and he always was very strong. So I think before it's over, in the next few years, he'll be able to help the Tigers.
He reminds me of Jack Mashburn, who's 2 years older than him, who's starting the last 2 years for LSU at tight end from St. Paul's. And then I want to mention Joe Brown, who another tight end that left you, had signed with ULM of Monroe. Now he's at McNeese State. Another big guy, 6'3", big guy that weighs a lot of good weight, has a chance to start for McNeese this year.
Right. Yeah, he'd gone up to Monroe. They had showed a lot of interest in him, but Joe's dad. I recruited Joe's dad. Joe's dad played at Iota, and I recruited him when I was at USL. We weren't able to offer him because of the numbers. He ended up in Arkansas Monticello. So Joe actually grew up in Arkansas till he came to us as a freshman, but he spent all that time in Arkansas, and his dad actually was helping coach the team in Warren, Arkansas, which had won a few state championships. And the Burks receiver from Arkansas that went first round, grew up in their house in Arkansas. I mean, he's been in Notre Dame a few times with the Browns, and of course Chet went ahead and made the move back home to the Iota area, and they're living down here now, and actually has a brother. Matt Brown's going to start for us at weak side guard this year.
Yeah.
But Joe wanted to get a little closer to home. I think he saw an opportunity with a new staff at McNeese, and kind of lighted the position he plays in numbers, a chance to go there and get on the field maybe a little quicker. So he made the switch to McNeese, and hopefully it works out. I think it will. I know he's happy there. And another kid that acted probably a better receiver than he was a blocker when we moved him there, because he had never played. He played wide receiver at one time as a youngster. But anyhow, he's grown. He's gotten so big now, and he's had a few years at tight end. So hopefully he'll be able to have a good run here with the Cowboys.
Before we take a break, I want to mention another famous alumnus from Notre Dame High School, the late Tony Robichaux, former head baseball coach at McNeese State and the University of Lafayette. Tony Robichaux went to Notre Dame in Crowley. We're going to take a break. We'll have more of our head coach, Louis Cook. When we come back, I'm going to ask him about his team. I'm going to throw out the guys that aren't even prospects. That's what this is about, right, Coach? We're going to throw out all the guys who work hard every day, and a lot of the guys, not everybody, but a lot of his players when we come back.
Sure.
I'm going to mention them. We'll be right back. Gage has served Louisiana for over 40 years. Let Gage create a custom-tailored solution for your business and become your partner in technology. Give them a call today at 225-753-4243 and help your business get better connected with Gage. Welcome back. I want to thank another sponsor, Treads and Care, Devin Holly, the owner, Hooper Road in Park Place. If you need a tire, trust me, they have every brand. Give them a call at 331-8144. It's 331-8144. That's 225. All your tire needs, even do a pickup and delivery. I love those pickup and deliveries when you don't have a vehicle. Need someone to come get you and bring you back and get your vehicle with the new tires and everything. Treads and Care. Coach, I want to go through. I'm just going to throw a bunch of names out without talking about them. Just kind of throw them all out at one time, and then we don't have to go through every one. We'll never have enough time. But just
sure.
I'm going to throw out a bunch of guys. Some are going to be D3 guys. I mean, you talked about D2, some 1AA, some not even prospects, but good players for you. I'm going to start. No order here, parents. No order. Just Luke LeBlanc, offensive lineman coming back, senior. Lane Gaspard going to play on the offense for coach as a senior coming back. Christian Bro, tough offensive lineman coming back for coach as a senior, 6 foot 230. Hunter Leonard's another Leonard's coming back, senior year, 5'10", 215. That's about the size of a lot of coaches' linemen, about 220, 210. Trip Mixon coming back as a safety, a great athlete in the school, senior. Grady Falk, another tight end, can play H-back and at the next level somewhere, going to be a senior. Jake Bruyette, who's a heck of a player and also baseball player in the program. Sam Kirsch, only a junior, defensive end for coach, got 2 years left. Jeremy Prevost, one of those stocky D tackles that are just tough as nails that coach told me about. That's just to name a handful of his guys that are coming back that are tough nosed. What do you think of this group, Coach?
Oh yeah, well, a lot of the guys you mentioned, have some experience. Several of them started for us last year. Jeremy Prevost was one. In '97 when I took the job at Notre Dame, I coached Jeremy Prevost, the dad of little Jeremy Prevost. Now I say little, 50, and probably maybe the strongest in squads that we've ever had since I've been at Notre Dame. I mean, he's got a lot of weight on it. When I look over at sometimes weight room, I get scared. I said, Jerry, that's enough. But Jeremy started for us as defensive tackle last year, and really expected some good things from him. You talked about Luke LeBlanc, Christian Bro, Hunter Leonard. All three of them were starters for us last year on the offensive line. And I don't know that I've returned 3 offensive linemen ever in all the years I've been at Notre Dame. But it's nice to have those experienced seniors coming back. They were in all the wars last year, so that should help us a great deal. Trip Mixon, I was hoping Trip would have a really good baseball season because I've seen a lot of times where we've had football players have a great football season and turn it into a great baseball year. Yeah. William Weiss was one of those guys who played tackle for us on offense and pitched the state championship baseball game 2 years ago. We beat St. Charles in the finals, and Will Weiss. But I think he gained a lot of confidence because his junior year, he just didn't have that confidence on the mound.
Yeah.
And had great foot. And Tripp's done that. Tripp's our first baseman, outfielder, gonna play safety, and I can see him doing things with more confidence already from last year. Another kid you didn't mention, I'm gonna throw it out there since we're on the baseball part of it. It's gonna be our quarterback, Aiden Mouton. Aiden's our shortstop on the baseball team. Again, I can remember sitting down with Aiden in the fall, and I said, Aiden, shame on you if you're not the starting shortstop next year. You could have been it this year as a sophomore, but I think you held back a little bit, or you didn't have faith in yourself.
Yeah,
he had a great baseball season. He played shortstop for us and did a little pitching, and we just had a 7-on-7 tournament last week, and we won our first 5 games, and boy, he threw the ball really well. So, we expected some. I think he's going to really give us a lot at the quarterback position. And you got Grady, who played a lot last year. He'll go between tight end, H-back, and actually wide receiver. And Jake Bruyette, who we moved over from defense last year when we kind of got banged up at running back, and we took him from corner and put him at running back. And wow, he's got a lot of speed. He's strong. He made a lot of good runs for us. You'll probably see Jake. He'll probably be one of the few guys he'll play downs on both sides of the ball because we will need him at cornerback at times this year. So we have a little depth at running back now. If we stay healthy, we'll be able to utilize him on defense some. But those guys, Grady, and then Kid Bernard has been one of our top basketball players for the last 3 years. was played some at flanker last year, and boy, he had a big day last Wednesday, and those 6 games that we played in that 7-on-7 tournament, and so we're looking Sam Kirsch, you know who Sam Kirsch's uncle is, Brandon Stokely.
Come on, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Sam's mom, Jamie, is Brandon's oldest sister, and Nelson was from Crowley, and actually between his stint at Virginia Tech, Clemson, where he was with Danny Ford at both places, and won a national championship at Clemson with Danny Ford. But between those 2 jobs, he came back to Crowley and worked at the golf course.
Wow.
And of course, when he came back to Lafayette, the kids were young. But Jamie married Tim Kirsch from Crowley, and they lived there in Crowley. And he had Sam Connor, Sam's older brother, played defensive tackle for us as well. And I never forget his last. We played in Kaplan in week 10, which was the last regular season game for Connor as a senior. And we warming up, and I feel somebody grab me around from behind, around the neck. It was Brandon.
Wow.
He's flown in from Denver to come to watch his nephew in his last regular season game. So, Sam's gonna be a really good player for it. He does a lot of good things. So
we're going to take a break, Coach, bring you back. And before we take a break, I want to mention another famous alumnus who's only with Coach, maybe a little over a year, but Tyler Shelvin, D-tackle, went to LSU, started at Northside High School, and plays now for the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and all those guys in Cincinnati. We'll be right back with more Coach Louis Cook, Notre Dame of Crowley. We'll be right back. Listen, whatever you're driving right now, Tommy Harvey wants it. Bring it in to Harvey Subaru, Lexus of Shreveport, Bossier City, or John Harvey Toyota. They're paying big bucks for all trades right now. They'll cut you a check right there. Tell them Lee sent you. Welcome back. I hope you're enjoying the show. I'm enjoying it. I wish I had Coach for 3 hours today. I love talking football with Coach, man. I want to thank another sponsor of ours, Gage. Gage has served Louisiana for over 40 years. Let Gage create a custom-tailored solution for your business and become your partner in technology. Give them a call today at 225-753-4243 and help your business get better connected with Gage. I've known Greg Wood and his dad for many, many years. Great people. Check them out. And Coach, I want to turn our attention to ULL. The Raging Cajuns. I mean, you coached there. You coached, like I said, Jake Delhomme and Brandon Stokely and all those guys that were there when you were there. And by the way, you brought up Clemson that won the national championship, 1981. They won it. And Percy Tuttle, I remember as a kid, Coach, he was my favorite receiver for Clemson. He was an All-American that year. Percy Tuttle.
Man, had the refrigerator. Remember?
He was good.
We actually went. I got hired at USL in '81, and a year or 2 later, we went to Clemson to spend 3 or 4 days with Stokely and that staff, trying to pick their brain and watching practice in the spring. And Nelson was the offensive coordinator there, and several years later, is back in Lafayette as the head coach. And
we lost you there, Coach.
But,
okay, got you back.
Okay, yeah. So we went to Clemson, spent a little time with them, and got back with Coach Stokely. I got to coach with him, which was really good.
Coach, UL, you got a story you told me about the first coaching job for Michael Desimo, who's now the head coach, former Catholic and New Iberia quarterback. But you told me that before he coached a down, that he spent some time with you first shot.
Yeah, his first coaching experience as a high school coach was in spring practice of 2010 on the practice field at Notre Dame. Michael, I coached against Mike, and we played him in the playoffs and regular season. And knew the family. I knew his dad, Bill, from way back at age, and so I was close to that family. Michael called me and he said, Coach, I want to become a coach. I was wondering if I could come spend some time with you guys. And I said, you're welcome to do it. I'm going to put you to work. And so he helped coach our quarterbacks through that 10 days of spring football practice. I was hoping to keep him on with us, but he was still playing in the Canadian League. You know, he had bounced a little bit on a few practice squads in the NFL. And so he wanted to try one, and he went back, and that was his last year. The next year he was back at his alma mater coaching at Catholic in New Iberia, and then became the head coach at Ascension Episcopal before he was hired to be an assistant at UL, and was the only coach that Billy Napier kept off of HUD staff, and you know, now as a head coach. So we're really pulling hard for Michael. He's a true Cajun through and through, and played quarterback for the Cajuns. You know, just loves UL, and so I know he'll do a great job. You know, we lost some really good players through the transfer portal. You know, that could have come back to play. I mean, a couple of them at LSU. Napier took a couple of them. You know, one of the running backs had a really good year. Went to TCU because his brother was there.
Montrell Johnson, and
so it's you know, it's, but they got a lot of good players, and they're gonna do a great job. They got a good staff, and so you know, hopefully things will work out for them.
Well, Coach, speaking of transfers, I've got good news for Cajun fans. I told you I was going to mention this. Out of the 2 deep depth chart, let's just say 2.5 deep, counting the punters and kickers, and long snapper. 17 transfers will make up the UL depth chart, and all of them are studs from A&M, Oklahoma, Alabama, Kansas State, TCU, Maryland, Fresno State, Youngstown State, 2 from LSU, UMass, Tulane, Michigan State, Southeastern, and the last one, I want to mention this kid. Coach, you're going to love this. So there's a kid that left St. Thomas More 2 years ago by the name of Blake Champagne. This is why you never give up as a high school kid if you want to play ball in college. Blake left high school at 6'3", 210 DN. Coach, after 2 years in the weight room, 1 year at Southeastern, now he's at UL as a redshirt freshman. He is 6'3", 268, running a 4.6 40.
Wow.
And he's starting as a DN. He's starting for UL in the rotation as one of their top 3 DNs for UL as a redshirt freshman. How you like that? How you like that story?
Yeah, I'm fired up. Yeah, it's always good, you know, and that's the thing that, you know, I don't think we do enough of in college now. I think the ratings, the 5-star, the 4-stars, kind of hurt a lot of kids. We don't project anymore. You know, I always felt, you know, McNeese, Northwestern were great at signing guys that they projected them, and you didn't hear about them for 2 years, and then all of a sudden, you know, Buford Jordan, you know, comes out of Iota and goes to McNeese, and you don't hear Buford's name for 2 years, and then all of a sudden he ends up being a stud college and pro football. Stephen Starr, I know you remember that name.
Yeah.
You know, from Vinton, you know, out of Vinton, and Kerry Joseph out of New Iberia. You know, guys that went there, you know, trained for 2 years, and then, you know, a very good, productive college player that went on to play pro football. So, you know, now I think it gets lost a little bit, but it's great to hear that story, you know, about this kid. So.
Remember the name, Blake Champagne. That's
how
the Cajuns say it, huh, Coach? Champagne.
Yeah, that's it. He's back in Lafayette. It's not champagne. He's a champagne.
He's a champagne. Yeah. I also want to throw another guy that was never ranked. That Luke Lawton started for the Colts in the Super Bowl as a fullback. Went to McNeese.
Yeah, exactly. You know, fullback out of St. Thomas More, same thing. You know. Turned out to be, you know, a really special player. So.
We're gonna take a break. When we come back to talk to Coach, I want Coach to have some time to think about it, but I want to ask Coach who he thinks should be in the high school Hall of what high school coach should be in the Hall of Fame still in Louisiana. So if you can think of that, maybe a coach or two. I'm thinking of Paul Trosclair Eunice. I I don't even know if the late Wayne Reese is in there yet from Carver and Washington Marion. So there's some great high school coaches that are not in the Hall of Fame yet in Louisiana. Yeah. So we'll be right back with more Coach Louis Cook in just a moment. If you need a paint job or repairs to your vehicle, go see Madine's Collision Center located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana on Kincaid Avenue. The number to call is 357-7983. That's 357-7983. Your Baton Rouge Accident Advisors. I want to thank a sponsor, one more, and look, it's my favorite one because I'm a fisherman. When I retire, Coach, I'll get to fish a lot. But right now, I get one trip a year like a coach. I got to do it in August, before August, the last week. And I go to Gros Savon when I get a chance around Lake Charles. You should too. It's a true sportsman's paradise. I'm going again, Coach, in August.
Good. Good for you.
Give them a call, 337-598-2357. If you like to bass fish, saltwater fish, eco tours, alligator hunting, freshwater, saltwater, give them a call. You can do it overnight lodging. It's a way to take a brother, a dad, a client, just to get away. And that's what I love about the outdoors. I know Coach would agree, just to get away. It's nothing like it going fishing. Give Gros Savon a call. Sportsman's Paradise, true sportsman's paradise. Coach, Hall of Fame. And I think those guys do a good job in Natchitoches. And I know a lot of the people involved there, but there's so many high school coaches, and I know you're in the Hall of Fame, but is there a coach or two that comes to your mind that's not in yet that you think should be in the next few years?
Well, you have the Louisiana High School Coaches Hall of Fame, which does recognize high school principals, referees, coaches, participants. And then I'm not as familiar with the process of the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. I was, humbled and honored when they came to tell me that I was going into that one, because I had no idea how it worked. I know the high school one, you get nominated, and so, but no, the guys that I'm most familiar with, obviously, are the guys in our area. But a guy, like Mike Mowat, and the sad thing about it, Lee, is I think we associate a good coach with the fact that he won a state championship.
Right.
And I don't really agree with that. I
don't either.
I know Jim Jim had won at Point Coupee, but at STM, it was a long while before they were able to, to win one.
Right.
And but Jim's the same coach today as he was before the STM won those championships.
Right.
And he's the second winningest coach of all time in Louisiana. And but Mowat went to Brobridge, where you didn't hear much about Brobridge back when Mowat took that job. Mm-hmm. And for years, they were just someone to no one wanted to play Brobridge. They did such a good job, and they did get a championship. It was the year Bastrop had to, forfeit that, but they were there. They were in the championship game, and and then Paul Tross over in Eunice. Both of those guys are over 200 wins on their career. Tross took the Bobcats to the Dome in '97 and '98, and played Curtis. He lost the second time they went. They had Curtis on the ropes.
Yeah.
The Eunice Bobcats, and then they won one a few years ago. Beat Sterlington, in the Dome, and Tross just had a solid, career. I look, I always say, a guy, goes to the Dome and wins a championship. One time it can happen, but the guys that go back are constantly knocking on the door. To me, those are the guys that are doing a good job. The consistency of a program, of a coach's, a head coach's program that he develops. To me, that's what I look at. You can inherit a talented team. In fact, one of the chapters in the book, Lee, is Psychologist of the Year. And that chapter refers to the year I went back to Crowley in '96.
Okay.
I had Joe DiMaggio. I had Marcus Woolridge. I had Walter Sampson. I had all these guys that Nick Dugard. You remember all these names. These guys are I mean, I would have had to
Lawrence.
I would have had to take an all-star team from my previous 7 years, probably to match the talent on the '96 team.
Yeah.
And we ended up going to the Dome. Well, Curtis beat us in the Dome, but a lot of guys would have taken that team, and that's why I told Galen, we were talking one day, and I had a friend of mine who's a Hall of Fame coach in the state of Virginia, but we went to USL together as students, and we actually coached in Rain with me for a year before he moved back to Virginia. And he called me after the '96 season. He goes, "God dang, coach," he said, "you go back 1 year, you're in the Dome, you coach of the year in the state." I said, "But they messed up." He said, "What you mean?" I said, "I should have been psychologist of the year." I said, "I had so many good players. I said, there was not enough footballs to go around." I said, every week it seemed like I was trying to pick up one of them spirits because he didn't get the ball enough, or he didn't, I said it was a head job trying to, and finally we all came together and had a great season. But yeah, those guys, Wayne Reese, who just passed away.
Yeah.
I got to know Wayne when he came to Washington Marion for several years and was on this end with us. And what a good guy, and did so much for the kids that he coached those played McX35 and then like I said, when he was in Lake Charles, and COVID got him, and I think his son still, is still coaching, and but yeah, those guys leave a legacy behind. It's going to be hard to fill those shoes, those types of guys, and so yeah, like I said, I don't know what everybody looks at. I know wins obviously are important and championships, but I just don't think that a guy that never won a championship, I don't think that means he wasn't a good coach or he didn't have a great career. There's some schools, Lee, you know the schools better than anybody in the state. I don't care if Vince Lombardi was over, he'd have a hard time winning a championship at some of the schools. It's just, they're not blessed with enough talent or whatever it might. It don't mean they're not going to be good.
I'm gonna throw out a guy right now because I don't know if he'll ever win one, Coach. But you got to look at him if he coaches another 5-10 years, and that's our head coach at the Voiles. And so I mean they put up an unbelievable job with probably no talent.
Hey, I recruited the Vols when I was at USL. I mean, you better have a map if you're going to go in the Vols.
Right.
Nobody passes through a Vols now, and this guy, I mean, look what he did but it's been like that for the last several years now, what he's doing over there, and it's unique in how he does it. He does it differently that, they're not going to punt. They're not going to onside.
Right.
I mean,
no punt, no kicking. Yeah.
But the Sun Gun, I mean, every year they've been good. You're right. Those it'll be. It's a little bit different now. Since we split. But at the same time, it's still tough for some of these places to ever have enough kids to make that run that it takes. To be a championship team,
Yeah, and I'm with Coach. I think it's about impact on young men's lives and being around a long time and being different, being an impact on so many people. And like you have, Coach, you've made an impact on thousands of people, man.
The motivational and inspirational deal of because he asked me, the first question he asked me after he talked about maybe doing this, he goes, "Coach, you've been coaching almost 50 years. What is it in coaching? What is it about coaching that?" And I said, what other profession is there where you coach these young guys and they go into every walk of life? I said, I've got guys in the military, high-ranking officers I've coached that have gone into the military. I've got skilled laborers, accountants, doctors, I said plumbers, electricians that have created successful businesses. I got guys running major oil companies that I coach, and I said, and not even priests. I got 4 guys that played for me that have become priests. And in fact, one of the chapters is titled "Ultimate Goals Heaven" because every year at the beginning of the season we talk about our goals, and I always tell them, I said, the ultimate goal is what? And they think Andrew Schumacher, who's a priest now. Andrew was a receiver for us, good basketball player, good football player, and Andrew in his first homily, he says, Coach said, ultimate goal, I want to go to the Dome. He said, I saw teams ahead of me going to New Orleans and winning, and I want to be the state champion. Coach says, the ultimate goal is to get to heaven.
Right,
and then we went from there. Yeah, and he got it. He said, that blew me away, and now he's a preacher, and he tells the story. But, yeah, so, there's a lot of guys that have done a lot of really great things and have been consistent and have done that. And I think, to me, that's a consideration if you're going to be a Hall of Fame guy. It's not just how many championships you won and games you won. It's how many kids have you impacted and helped and did it for. You're not going to find the guys that are doing it for 20 and 30 years as much anymore.
Right.
It's hard to, times it's tough,
Yeah.
But those guys that are doing it, I admire those guys, and I applaud them for being able to stand there and fight it and take care of these kids the way that they have.
Coach, we're going to end the show. Don't go anywhere. I thank you for being on.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. And I appreciate you on short notice being
Sure.
on with me tonight. And the show's going to air on Monday. I want to tell everybody, if you're listening and you're a Pio, Coach knows what Pio means. I learned that. I learned that as an outsider. People said, if you don't say Notre Dame, you know what Pio means, the Pios. But go to our website, our preview magazine, 26 years, coming out late August.
Wow.
The Pios will be previewed. A lot of these kids will be in it, most of them that are starting. We got a big write-up on Notre Dame, all 300 schools. Go to lafootballmagazine.com. If your mom or dad, get you a copy, because in the new world we're in, most of the copies we have, you got to order them off our site to find them, and that's
right.
where we are. And before we go, Coach, on a somber note for me, but I'm dedicating this show to my Uncle Charlie LeBlanc, who passed away last night at the age of 88.
Wow.
One of my biggest fans.
Yeah.
Watch my shows. He's a veteran and was born in the 30s. And this show's for you, Unc. So where
was he living, Lee? Where
he was living in Watson, Louisiana, Coach.
Watson, Louisiana. Yeah, Live Oak High School.
Live Oak, and
well, good. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, great man. I want to dedicate the show to him and to his family that's from here to Dallas, Texas. My Uncle Charlie LeBlanc.
Yeah.
So he was a sport. Hey, you say sports fanatic, Coach? He was a sports
he was
fanatic.
one. Well, I'm proud to be on the show dedicating to your uncle.
All right, Coach. Look, don't go anywhere. Again, everybody, hope you enjoyed the show. You can catch it on YouTube as well. You can go to our website. We've got like 27 different options to get the show. Or you can go to Podbean or wherever you get your podcast, or go to Twitter. All of that. We'll have it on every media outlet you can think of. And look, I don't put them up mostly because I don't know how to. I got people that do that for me, but I do everything else. I'm like Coach. I just want to write and scout and do all that. But I will see everybody on Wednesday.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Burkeen.